So, Will, can I borrow you? It's the same movement every time. The two arms in, and it's two arms into the outside. So we're going to turn to a slight angle here. So if Will comes in for a stab, it's two arms to the outside, and that's the movement, and I'm getting into the upper bone of the arm. If the first arm gets here lower than the elbow, then the next hand is going to walk up here, and then I'm doing this. Okay? If the first movement is to the upper bone in the arm, then that's even better, but it's not required. That's why you're using both hands, and preferably spread out. Now if he's doing something kind of like a back cut or something goofy, right? And I come in and I do this and I let it pass, now I'm on the inside. Okay, if I can get in like this, I'm still moving my body to the outside. The act of moving my body to the outside just turns his arm. The goal here, I'm still controlling the upper bone in the arm and I'm getting to the outside. Stay goal-oriented. Get to the outside. Control the upper bone in the arm, however it is you do that. Now I will say that if you try to control the upper bone in the arm with your chest, then it leaves a lot of ability for him to articulate at the hips, regardless if you're standing, if you're able-bodied or not. It allows him to articulate in a way where he can get his arm free. You want to have at least one joint, okay, where I can control the upper bone with my bicep, and have at least one joint where I can articulate and adapt as he's trying to fight this technique that I'm applying, or this methodology that I'm applying. So if I can keep a forearm on it, then I have two joints to articulate and keep this going as I'm doing some sort of incapacitating movement. If I can meet it at the hand, if I can meet right here with my hand and control this, then I have three joints to articulate. Of course, this is a finer motor skill and this might slip, but if this slips, then I can come down to the forearm or switch hands. So the point is to change this up as much as possible, but it's the same thing every single time. It doesn't matter how he swings at me, I'm putting both hands up and I'm sweeping the outside. If it's coming across kind of the head, then I'm lifting up underneath and coming here, but it's still both hands in and to the outside. Again, if he comes in and I get there too soon and it's to the inside, I just slip. Okay? If it's something of a back cut, then I'll end up inside. Okay? But then I'm just getting in. It's the same stuff, it just looks a little bit different. Once you get the key concept of getting here and applying some kind of pressure and maneuvering so that you are pinning that, then you start adding stuff that's incapacitating, picking small targets. So you get here as soon as possible, and then applying incapacitating stuff. Now there's two exceptions to controlling here. If there's some kind of slippage, what you'll often see, okay, if I'm trying to control here and then he pulls free, and I get his arm stuck here in one of these traps, this is okay. If you feel that you've trapped the hand, hold onto it, and because I can still work here, and then I can do, if you're able-bodied, you can turn your body, I can do a disarm here. Another one is I'm passing here and I end up here. Okay? This shoulder control. Remember, crease of the shoulder where the rifle or buttstock of the rifle would go. And now I'm doing combatives, right? And at some point, when he's been thoroughly either extremely softened or incapacitated to some degree, I can come up here and grab the blade, apply pressure to the sides of the blade, use it as a lever, and either use it against him if the fight continues after that, or strip it and make distance. But the beauty of this is even, okay, you're talking about a one-movement solution. As the knife comes in, this is something that I'm doing while I'm applying my handgun. Okay, I don't want to just sit here, because even if I sit here and try to go for my handgun, what is that knife doing to my arm? Okay, I'm getting my arm chewed up. And if you say that doesn't happen, people are going to try to go after the body. Yes, it does. There are plenty of cops who are constantly getting their legs cut up for trying to kick at the leg to make distance, and try to hold the suspect at length. And the reason for that is that it's natural human tendency when you have a weapon in your hand to attack the closest thing possible. It just draws the attention. So your arm is going to get shredded. At some point, some major tendons are going to get cut. This arm is going to get incapacitated, and there's going to be nothing standing between you and the other person. While you're hoping one of these bullets is going to get him. A lot messier than what we're trying to do here. So we might get, yes. So one of those myths I didn't mention was the expectation of getting cut. Okay, expecting anything to happen is going to cause cognitive dissonance. It's going to cause a gap in the orientation phase of your OODA loop, and trying to adapt to him adapting to you, you adapting to him. It's going to slow down your thought process. It's going to slow down your decision-making capacity. So don't expect anything. If you get cut, you get cut. You focus on the goal. Okay. Now, if you do this correctly, if you get good at it, then you can largely, if not completely, mitigate getting cut at all. just due to the nature of the thing. Knife comes in, and both arms move together, and I'm getting to a position where he can't reverse this on me. He just can't. Okay? So let's look at what these drills look like, and we'll amp it up. Okay, so the first drill in this kind of progression of working this concept, Will's going to apply a random force vector with the knife. He's going to attack from a random angle. Both parties are going to be moving at the same time because the mechanics that you apply are going to differ from location to location and how the bodies shift in space. So Will's going to apply a force vector, and Phil's only objective is to get to that upper bone in the arm as quickly as possible and apply forward pressure. Once he takes Will off his center, kind of gets his center of gravity, they're going to reset, and they're just going to continuously be moving through this. So go ahead, guys. Phil's just going ahead and adding combatives. You really have to concentrate on very small targets when you're doing this. So Phil just lost it. Keep forward pressure. There you go. Keep going, guys. So at first it's just kind of face to face with how this goes. As it kind of progresses, Phil let Will walk around him, and it'll just apply it from a slightly different angle. All right, so maybe attack from the side. And the only difference there is that sometimes the other hand gets there first, but the goal is still the same. You walk your hands up to that upper bone in the arm and apply forward pressure. Again, there's no specific technique of being applied here, but every time he's controlling that whole knife arm, with his other arm free to apply incapacitating combatives. And you let it go. You've got to close the gap of that upper bone in the arm. You try to control it with his chest, and it slipped free. There you go. Okay, so the next progression is we're just taking it a little bit further. We're probably going at about somewhere between 50 and 75% speed, but full tension is being applied. So if the attack is deflected, Will is applying as much pressure as he can to try to get that knife back in the fight. He's just trying to. So Phil's got to constantly apply the correct pressure. If he lets up, that knife gets free and he gets cut. So if you don't do this, then there's the tendency to get to that mentality of, okay, the drill's over, and there's a point where you just naturally lax after a certain point. So Will's going to continue to do that. So Phil has to apply a certain number of incapacitating combatives. He can go for the eyes, which is going to tilt the head back. Anywhere in the head where you can physically, mechanically tilt the head back is going to affect his center of gravity, which is going to severely limit his ability to return the knife on a back cut or anything like that. So it's really getting you a lot. He can also, if he gets close enough, affect the legs. So whenever the main thing here is that the more he can apply damage while affecting center of gravity, the more he's going to mitigate the chance of the knife coming back on him. So go ahead, guys. So kind of a full scenario. Full scenario. Don't let the knife go. So as long as Phil maintains, there's the elbow. All right, reset. So that first one, don't let up the gap. Go immediately for the combatives. Get in, get in, get in. In. There you go. Elbow. Now, when Phil's getting this elbow, it's a very violent motion. He's not trying to gently take Will down to the ground. It's a snapping of the elbow. He's going at a very controlled pace at the moment so that we can continue to be agreeable training partners. So even if he loses that upper bone because he created a bridge and let a gap slip in, he's still maintain control of the arm somewhere. So if he slips, he's applying pressure back somewhere on the arm and keeping the knife off of himself. So let's slow it down for a second to just show what if that knife does slip, what your arm is doing. Okay, so if Will comes back with it, Phil is just applying pressure with one hand at least on that knife. He doesn't have to stop the movement. He just has to keep the blade off of him. Okay, and that's just a little movement drill. Okay, we don't want to stick around on that very much. So, all right. Okay, for this last drill, it's going to be kind of a combination. It's going to be the same thing, except now we're going to have two potential attackers. They're both going to have knives, so it's just adding some situational awareness in this. Now, every once in a blue moon, one attacker is going to go, and then the other attacker is going to come in. So it's going to force the defender to have a certain degree of situational awareness and general positioning, not just on one person, but for multiple people. But it's the same thing. The only difference being where you would line up the upper bone in the arm with the torso to apply forward pressure and trap the arm. You're now aligning the upper bone in the arm with the torso and the second person. So let's get the drill going, and it's just going to be a random attack. So it's going to be from one of the other two. They're going to coordinate and go. The point here is that it doesn't matter who's doing the attack or what combatives are being applied. It forces you to really concentrate on the root concept, which is get to the upper bone in the arm, and that's what controls the knife arm. All right. Okay, so some nuances here. Say Dylan comes up and grabs Phil's shirt to index for a stab. Phil does not have to go against the knife arm. He can go against the arm that's indexing. So if he does the same thing and goes the upper bone in the arm, he's accomplishing the same thing. Even if he gets in close, Dylan does not have a lot of strength to apply any kind of cut, especially if combatives are properly being applied in a violent manner. Another thing, let's go into the nuances, so trapping the hand. If a cut comes in and Phil gets to a trapping position, I know you're going to have to manufacture it here. So when Phil gets here, he's still applying combatives. He still has the elbow if it presents itself. But at some point, if he has the knife to go against uses the knife as a lever to strip the knife. But it's not an immediate go-to thing. It's incapacitation first, knife takeaway second. Now, the benefit of the other trap, and again, this is circumstantial. You're not trying to manufacture these two things. This is how they end up. If the knife ended up in the other circumstance where it's trapped underneath the arm, right, he just ends up here, okay? Which it hasn't happened in these demos yet, but that's how it does happen a lot. He still has the elbow, he still has the use of his legs, but now Phil can multitask by turning himself away to his left side and stripping the knife. Okay, the last bit is just a demonstration to show how these random angles of attack, switch hands or whatever, how the same universal movement applies to getting to the handgun. So we're just going to slow it down just to show what it looks like. We're still going to keep it random and have the countervailing force by the opponent. So go ahead and get started. Knife comes in, same sort of stuff, controlling the upper bone in the arm, go for the handgun. Yep. And now being a very close distance, he can really direct his fire into incapacitating areas. Okay, go ahead and reset.
I'm not pushing forward.
All right, go again. All right, one more time.